I love puzzles, but in my adult life, I actually haven't done very many of them. I don't pull them out very often and I don't spend a lot of time on them, so I was really wondering why that is. Why I say I really want to do something, it's one of my favorite hobbies, but then I never do it. My excuse mainly revolved around how much space I have. I live in a tiny condo, so there isn't a whole lot of space to spread out and do a puzzle. But puzzles don't have to take up that much space. I have this one here, which is the world's smallest 1,000 piece puzzle, so space couldn't have been the issue, and so I started digging deeper. My aha moment arrived when hubby and I signed up for a puzzle competition. It was run by a local board games cafe. We did this 100 piece puzzle for practice, and then the competition itself was putting together this 300 piece puzzle. Hubby and I did okay. We placed 7th out of 20 teams, but what I got out of the competition in terms of it reigniting my love for puzzles really brought up a lot of aha moments for me. I realized that, very similar to my video on how I'm changing the way I read books, there were things about puzzling that I needed to move past. The main thing was that I had encountered a puzzle blockage. I had 3 puzzles on my bucket list. They were huge puzzles. One was 3,000 pieces, another was 5,000 pieces, and the third puzzle was a whopping 9,000 pieces. I had these on my bucket list and I truly wanted to do these puzzles in my lifetime, and that was preventing me from doing other puzzles. I'm not sure why I got fixated on these puzzles, maybe because I've had them since I was in my 20s and I've always wanted to do them. These puzzles essentially need floor space because I don't have a table that's big enough to contain them. So I kept putting it off, and at the start of the pandemic, I did do the 3,000 piece puzzle. That scratched my puzzle itch for a while. Then I decided I would do the 5,000 piece puzzle. I started at the beginning of this year and it took me over a month to complete. I didn't time myself, so I don't know how many hours I put into that puzzle, but I completely burnt out after doing that puzzle. To be quite honest, I didn't really enjoy the 5,000 piece puzzle. It was very overwhelming. I had this thing for world map puzzles ever since I was a child. The 3,000, the 5,000, and the 9,000 piece are all of ancient world maps. I did love doing this sort of puzzle when I was young, but doing massive puzzles that are all essentially the same, even though the image is different, they're from different years, they're different ancient world maps, they're pretty much the same. So I was bored when I was doing the 5,000 piece puzzle. It was taking way too long. My back was aching because I was always hunched over because the puzzle was on the floor, and I was just not having a good time with it. So why didn't I stop? Well, I actually did consider stopping, but I wouldn't let myself because it was on my bucket list and because I'm stubborn and I really wanted to finish it. So I did finish it, but the result was that I got sick of puzzles. At that point, I decided that the 9,000 piece puzzle no longer needs to be on my bucket list. I have actually zero desire to do it. So I very easily let that go. But I actually thought to myself, maybe I don't like puzzles anymore. I've always been someone who's liked puzzles, and so I keep saying I like puzzles. People sometimes grow out of things that they really used to enjoy, so I didn't give it a lot of thought until hubby found that competition. And I was hooked again. And I bought a bunch of new puzzles. I had actually sold the 5,000 piece puzzle and I want to sell the 9,000 piece puzzle. So you may be thinking I am letting go of a bunch of puzzles, but then I'm buying more. It doesn't really compute. But the puzzles I'm buying are smaller. They are 1,000 pieces or fewer. This might change in the future, but for now, I am really into smaller puzzles that I can complete in a couple of hours or over a day or two at a relaxed pace. I don't want something that's going to take me a month or even a week or more. And I want to do puzzles that will fit on a tabletop. So I'm feeling really good about the puzzles that I brought into my home. The first puzzles I'll show you are ones that I got in a swap. I joined a couple of local puzzle swap Facebook groups and I was able to arrange a swap really quickly because the person was looking for large puzzles, 1,500 to 3,000 pieces, and she wanted to trade for my 3,000 piece world map puzzle, which was perfect, and she was willing to trade some of her smaller puzzles for that one. I asked if she would be open to trading me 3 of her puzzles, 1 500 piece puzzle and 2 1,000 piece puzzles, and she was. The first one is by Gallison, and it is this stamps puzzle. Really beautiful image, and I love stamps. I used to collect stamps when I was little. I've completed this puzzle already, and it was really easy because of the color gradient. I have also been trying to do puzzles differently, so I usually do the border first and then I fill in the rest. But when I was watching some speed puzzling competitions, I noticed that a lot of people don't actually do the border first. They do separate the pieces, but they work on the main image first and then they fill in the border as they go, or when they hit a lull in terms of putting together the internal image. So I thought maybe I'll try that. I did try it a couple of times. It wasn't for me. I'm definitely a separate the border pieces and complete the border first type of person. But what I have changed after watching the competitions is that I will pour out all the pieces now, and I'll flip them all over while setting aside the border pieces, and I may do like a quick sort as well if some colors jump out at me right away. Whereas before, I would keep all the pieces essentially in the box until I needed to look for them, and then I would like rifle through the box and pull out all of the border pieces first. When I had most of that completed, I would rummage through the box again and I would pull out whatever caught my eye, maybe a particular color or pattern. But I think I did things the way I did them because I was working on massive puzzles, so it's less practical to pour them all out and sort them, especially when you have a small space. But I also did this with smaller puzzles, so that was just my puzzling style. Another thing I've been doing differently is storing my puzzles differently because I've been so fixated on puzzling, so interested in it again. I found this YouTube channel called Karen Puzzles, and she does a lot of huge puzzles and she usually stores them away. She'll essentially separate her puzzle into sections that fit into the box like so and stack them on top of each other. So that's how I've stored this puzzle in case I want to quickly reassemble it, and if I want to redo the puzzle, I'll just break these up. I haven't taped them or anything. They are still like loose pieces, but just stored in this way. But unless I put some tissue in here, I do need to store the puzzle flat, because if I try to store it KonMari style, the pieces of course will like break apart because they haven't been taped. The other cool thing I want to mention about this puzzle is that it has gotten around. In one of the swap groups that I joined, there's a tradition when you put in the last piece to sign and date the piece. And when I was shuffling up the pieces, I noticed there were a bunch that had little initials and dates on the back. So after I did the puzzle, I went ahead and flipped it over to see how many pieces were initialed. Including mine, there were 10, but I didn't notice the initials of the person who actually swapped me this puzzle. So I'm sure people have completed it without initialing and dating it. So this puzzle has been completed by at least 10 people, which I find very cool. And there are no pieces missing, so everyone's taken very good care of this puzzle. The next puzzle that I got from my swap was this one here. It's by Ravensburger. This image is so gorgeous. I especially love the corgi, and the image is called Redwood Forest Tiny House. It's adorable, and I loved putting this puzzle together. The only issue was that there is a piece missing from this puzzle. The last puzzle I received in the swap was this one. This one is stunning. I love this image, and it was actually a really easy and fun puzzle to do. There are no missing pieces in this one, and this is my first random cut puzzle, which means the pieces aren't cut into a grid. There are some really wonky and interestingly cut pieces. I wasn't sure how I would feel about that because I find I'm more of a puzzle traditionalist. I don't really like puzzles that have gimmicks like no borders, extra pieces, that sort of thing. It's not my thing. I really just love traditional puzzles with nice images on them, images I enjoy. So it was really fun to try my first Cobble Hill random cut puzzle, and I ended up loving it. The other thing I really love is the surface of the puzzle. I think they call it a linen finish, and there's very little glare. I found it really easy to see the color and the detail on the pieces. Before I show you the puzzles that I purchased, I want to talk about a couple of other things I've been doing differently when I do puzzles. Nearly my entire life, I have done puzzles without looking looking at the image. I mentioned in a recent vlog that it really tickles my brain to be able to figure out where things go rather than referring to an image. But when hubby and I did the competition, because we were doing puzzles for speed, I did reference the image, but I found it a little bit distracting, so I like to generally put as much together as I can, and when I have a big section and I'm not sure where it goes, then I'll refer to the image. So I've been finding I've been getting better at puzzling in terms of the amount of time it takes by referencing the image. I don't know if I'm going to always look at the image, but right now I'm in a groove where I am referencing the puzzle. Now let's move on to the puzzles that I purchased, and these are all Ravensburger, which is probably my go-to brand. My massive puzzles were all Ravensburger. I am excited to branch out, although I don't want to be adding a whole lot of puzzles to my collection. That is not the goal here. But I'm someone who doesn't mind doing the same puzzle over and over again, and I'm really happy with the ones that I purchased. I purchased 4 puzzles from Puzzles Canada when they were having their 20% off sale, and I bought 4 because I wanted to meet the minimum for free shipping. 3 of them are 500-piece ones, and I'll show you those first. So this here is the Tree of Life puzzle. It is so beautiful, and I did see this puzzle on Karen Puzzles' channel. I was really curious as to how long it would take me to do this puzzle, and as well, it's a gorgeous image. I've never done a circle puzzle before, and I noticed that a lot of YouTubers, especially the ones who do competitive puzzling, practice on these because they have shown up in some competition situations. So I was really curious to try one, and this is the Circle of Colors line, and I chose the animals one. The last 500-piece puzzle that I picked up is Rabbit Recital, and I like this for obvious reasons. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know I love rabbits, and it's also a beautiful image. I saw this one on Karen Puzzles' channel as well, and I just fell in love with it. So this was the reason I actually placed my order, because I did look at some in-person stores to see if I could find this puzzle, just the ones around me, and I couldn't. The last puzzle I picked up is a 1,000-piece puzzle, and I saw this on the Canadian National Puzzle Association's website. This image is called My Cute Kitty, and I cannot wait to do this puzzle. Remember when I said I went to several stores but I couldn't find that Rabbit Recital puzzle? I did find this puzzle, which I wasn't planning to buy, but then I went back to purchase it because I kept thinking about it. The price was just so good. It was $10, and it is this Disney vault puzzle of all of these Pluto posters. This is a 1,000-piece puzzle, and I did show a lot of restraint when I was at the store because they had other puzzles that I really liked the image of, but they were bigger puzzles, I think like 1,500 or 2,000 pieces. But I was like, no, I need to stick to 1,000 pieces or fewer, like I had decided. So I only bought this one. The last thing that I've been doing differently is that I created a spreadsheet to track my puzzles. This seems like something I would have been doing my entire life, but I've only just started. As you can see, I have 10 puzzles in my current inventory. I'm not going to keep the Ravensburger puzzle that has a piece missing. I know some people don't mind if there's a piece missing, but I do mind. I like my puzzles to be complete, so I will be letting that one go. Once I solve these, I don't plan to buy more or trade for more because I just don't have the storage space or the desire to have clutter in my home. So I'm hoping I really love these puzzles and that they're enough variety to keep me interested. The other thing I've been doing differently is I've been tracking the time it takes for me to complete a puzzle. Earlier on in this video, I mentioned that the 5,000-piece puzzle took me over a month to complete, but I don't actually know how many hours I put into the puzzle. Well, this is something I'd like to start getting a better sense of. How many hours does a 500-piece puzzle take? Of course, it will vary depending on the puzzle's level of difficulty, but I'd like to have a little bit of a sense of that. I'm not trying to even come close to the competitive puzzlers that are out there who are super fast, but it gives me a rough benchmark of how long it takes me to complete a puzzle. And then I'm always amazed by the competitive puzzlers who can do it in so much less time. It's a neat way to add some awe into my life, knowing that there are people out there who are so quick with puzzles. That is going to be it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're a puzzle enthusiast, I would love to hear from you. This is a topic that I'm very interested in at the moment, and I'd love to know the similarities and differences in the way people do puzzles. Thank you again for watching this video, and I'll be back very soon with another one. Until then, please take care, and bye for now.